Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah. Late night session. Alhamdulillah. So I've been checking out some conferences, different talks, and I want to discuss a very important subject in Islam and try to connect the dots, right? And for the we ain't gonna make it no homework because I'm gonna break it down and give some general definitions. Tarbiyyah, Tarbiyyah, okay? The Muslims who really want to be educated and really have some real knowledge of this deen. There's nothing wrong with this. You have some Muslims that don't necessarily want to learn, don't necessarily want to be knowledgeable. They just want to pray. They 5 daily prayers, go to Jummah if they can, fast as much as they can during Ramadan, give a little bit of sadaqah. And that's really it. They don't really want to be Quran readers. They don't want to read hadiths and all that. And that's fine. Everybody is not going to be on the same level. You know what I'm saying? But this is where the issue lies in the way people are obtaining their education. And the problem is there's a lack of tarbiyyah, okay? And mixed in with the game plan, okay? See, some people have to understand some people way of life is dawah. This how they eat. This how they feed their families. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just speaking the truth. This isn't just my own opinion. This is well known from the people who know. Just like you have some pastors for the Christian church, dynamic speakers, but they know that they ripping off their congregation. And some of them making millions of dollars. And I'm just gonna be transparent. They get because they got this name as this dynamic leader, they get the top pick of the women and the men. I mean, some of them, as y'all can see, some of them done came out, been on display, and had beautiful wives, diamonds and jewelry and Rolls Royces and private jets. And then come to find out they been having sex with men the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Prominent men. But they know they duping the congregation. They making millions off being pastors. Unfortunately, some people way of life is Islamic dawah. They know what they don't know. You know what I'm saying? Just like I know what I don't know. You see what I'm saying? So, because of this, the way people should be educated Islamically, they're not getting it. Tarbiyyah. So, let me give y'all a little definition. And I want to give it to y'all from Google, which is pretty decent because some of the new shahadas, y'all don't have books just yet. And I'm making sure that they don't rush to get books. And alhamdulillah, they listen. Because sometimes, this is what I've noticed. Sometimes with people that I deal with, they just know other people with books. They've seen people with books, right? And they just want to go book crazy. And then if I try to slow them down, hold on, you need this book first. You need to start with this book. Then when you completely finish it, then read this book. Okay? Because sometimes people will get 5, 6 books, and because they might have some friends who read this one, but they may have been Muslim 10 years, and you just becoming Muslim. So you start trying to read that book, but you needed 4 books before you started with this one. But you don't know that because you don't know Tarbiyyah. And matter of fact, I'm going to touch a point that I heard an imam speak on in one of his talks today about buying books, and it was very beneficial. So I'm trying to control before they jump out there and go book crazy. And then once you get enough books, you may find, and a lot, myself, it happened to me, and then other people, you may go get like 10 of these little books, right? And then you may find later on you get 1 book that cover all 10 of those books. But you don't know, you just going book crazy. And I'll always, alhamdulillah, I was able to get my books, like once I got to a certain level, okay, let me just get Aqidah books. Got the Aqidah books, boom, got the proper understanding of that and got my understanding checked. Then I went to Minhaj books on Minhaj, so that I can have a proper understanding of the methodology of the Salaf as-Salih, because it's just a Minhaj. So I started getting Minhaj books so that I can start to implement Minhaj instead of just doing this. So alhamdulillah, I was able to go through that process, right? So even though my head in the way I could see it, Tarbiyyah. So let me break down Tarbiyyah, right? So if you go Google it, you get Tarbiyyah is an Arabic word that means to nurture, increase, rear, or grow something in Islam. It refers to the education and upbringing of people. So to give y'all a glimpse, the way, and it's a beautiful programming for the way they program us here. The way that they got us to buy into pagan and shirk holidays and all this stuff, it's through a process of Tarbiyyah. So generally, not everybody, but it was a time you start off in daycare. A good daycare, right? My head is in the way. But a good daycare sets you up. So each arrow that I'm going to put means a setup. So a good daycare sets you up for Head Start. So one of the things, like in these daycares, not all, and I know they're changing, but daycares would promote these holidays. And these Head Starts, they promote these holidays alongside with your parents. Head Start sets you up for kindergarten, which also implement more of these Valentine's days, this Christmas, this Halloween, these Thanksgivings, to a point where it's no longer a belief system for you, right? It becomes a way of life, and then you change what you believe for why you do it. Like, okay, I know the Easter Bunny ain't real. Why would the Easter Bunny lay chicken eggs? You get to that point. But when you, in these early stages, you really believe in the Easter Bunny. You really believe in Santa Claus. Even to the point where they would, back in the days when the malls and stuff was popping or different things was going on, even back in the day when they would take you to a building with a strange white man in a costume, face all covered up, and take their kid and put you on this man's lap and take pictures with him, and you sit down and tell him what you really want for Christmas. But then later on you find out Santa Claus ain't real. Right? And as a matter of fact, I'm going to give y'all just a short jewel. I'm going to give y'all a short jewel on Santa Claus. Right? So, they say Saint Nick, Santa Claus was a guy named Saint Nick. So, this is going to be short. And this is something you really have to kind of learn through Masonry. So, it was a time when they didn't have vows, right? There wasn't no vows. So, a way that they hid satanic, right? They started to add vows. So, you put an I in there and go from satanic to Saint Nick, which is a guy in a red suit, right? Now, not to say there wasn't an individual who ended up calling himself Saint Nick and gave out presents, but then you look at the origins of Christmas, where there was a wicked individual who wanted to trick the world into celebrating his son's birthday. His son's birthday was on December 26th. Very evil man. Look at the history of it, to the point where people consider him to be a devil. And he was successful at tricking people into worshiping his son's birthday. But through Tarbiyyah, see, this is Tarbiyyah. So it ends up becoming a way of life as opposed to what we actually believe. You see what I'm saying? We'll do Thanksgiving to celebrate the mass slaughtering, almost extincting a whole group of people that was referred to as the Indians. But if we change our own belief system, well, it's just about seeing family. It's about us getting together, eating, getting drunk, and all this and that, and having fun. So, y'all go look into like what words before we had vows. So, I ain't gonna get too deep into that, but let me erase that off of there. So, because of Tarbiyyah, it integrates things into a way, it's your way of life. Just like how we implement thought processes of school is a pipeline to prison. That's what us urban people say. But a lot of the urban people who go to prison didn't finish school. But we're also in school with counterparts. Why ain't a pipeline to prison to them? The pipeline to prison is your environment. What your uncles is doing. You know what I'm saying? What your aunties is doing. You understand? What your parents is doing. What's going on in your environment. See, there's Tarbiyyah in the environment too. Just like from our generation, if you didn't join the gang, it was almost some areas, just because you lived in the area, they'll beat you up every day until you chose a side. That's Tarbiyyah. What comes with the gangs, eventually you got to pick up some type of tool. Because now you got to protect yourself with tools. These ain't tools no more. Then, because you in a lifestyle where you can't just go work a regular job, because if you got a name for being one of them guys, they just come to work and do you. So now you got to figure out ways to hustle, where you become a product of your environment. This is Tarbiyyah. Islam has Tarbiyyah. That's why you have to learn what is Islamic culture. You understand? And you have to learn what's Islamic education. You have to learn, you have to start on a daycare level because it sets you up for Head Start. Head Start sets you up for kindergarten. You understand? So your Islamic levels, one level sets you up for the next. We're not getting that. Some people take Shahada, right? And don't even really know nothing about Prophet Muhammad. Don't know the conditions of the Shahada. Never learn them. See, everything can be invalidated. Like, okay, you learn about Salat. Then you learn wudu is a prerequisite. You got to be in wudu. So when you learn about wudu, some people don't know the invalidators, the conditions of wudu and the invalidators of wudu. Every pillar has conditions and invalidators. Shahada, conditions, invalidators. Salat, conditions, invalidators. Zakat, conditions, invalidators. Hajj, conditions, invalidators. Fasting, conditions, invalidators. Okay? So like even the same with when it comes to start learning about Aqidah. Okay? Which, like I said in the video, anytime when you see something, because I was showing where the from the class thing, when it comes to Aqidah, and you see like the scholars of Aqidah, or they using these words, Aqidah is generally dealing with the belief system, right? But some of these beliefs have to come with actions. Like, you can't just say, I believe in Allah, right? But you have incorrect beliefs about Allah. There's a difference because like I said, like I showed, some of the same things that we look at as the 6 articles or the 6 pillars or the 6 fundamentals, people word them different. That we consider the foundation of deen. When you look at the kuffar, as far as Christians and Jews, they also believe in those exact same things. They believe in Allah's revelations. They believe in the angels. They believe in the prophets. They believe in the books. They believe in the last day. And they believe in the Qadr. But it's the incorrect beliefs and the actions that come along with that invalidates the belief system. So that's why, like, when people start to get in a Tarbiyyah system of education and they ask questions, how do you implement Aqidah in your everyday life? Crickets. I don't know how to implement no Aqidah. How do you implement Tawheed in your everyday life outside of Salah? Some people can't answer it. You understand? And then when you know the opposites. So the opposite of Tawheed is what? Shirk. Now, it's amazing me. It just means it's time for a touch. It amazes me now you see individuals that don't even really know what shirk is. So like you have people who go to the graves and they're praying to people they consider to be good people, imams, they was good, solid Muslim people. And they're going to make dua to them. And it blew my mind to hear Yasir Cardi trying to justify it because, he deal with the Deobandis. One thing I'm going to be honest about, and this is something we had to be honest about, Yasir Cardi got a PhD, but he didn't get his PhD from an Islamic university. I'm pointing this out for a reason, because people will use him to discredit other people who graduated from Medina, Mecca, or some of the other prominent schools in Saudi Arabia or Azhar. And they'll say, Yasir Qaradi got a PhD. Does that mean, but they're not Yasir Qaradi. And secondly, Yasir Qaradi graduated from a Kafir school. But he does have some knowledge. But what he was brought up on never left him. Just like a lot of us, that Christianity stuff, some of us, it never leaves us. He has some beliefs that was instilled in him from birth that never left. Or he struggled with it. So he was trying to say, making dua isn't worship. So when you go to the grave and you making dua and saying, oh, this person in the grave, make my memory like yours. That's just a dua. That's not shirk because it's not worship. So salah is only worship. But when you asking for what only Allah can give you, that's shirk. So this is the belief system of some of them. Some people don't really know what shirk is. But they also don't really know what Tawheed is either. Because if you really knew what Tawheed was, you wouldn't even consider that. But because you say, I believe in Allah, you think your Tawheed is straight. And this happens because these steps of Tarbiyyah, people have never got. So you had to understand your Tarbiyyah. Just like if people look when I first started this channel, some of the books that I was doing. Like I did the whole book on the science of the Quran from a curriculum book, a book that I passed, to break down how the Quran was revealed, this and that. I go through the whole book. I think I even did the science of fiqh, right? Or I started it. But like nobody was, so like even the 40 recommendation of the Muslim home, very important. Which some people tear down the whole entire book because they didn't care for the person that Sheikh Munajjid sat with, and he recommend one set of tafsir that people don't agree with. But the rest of the book, outside of that set of tafsirs, which unfortunately you can benefit from that set of tafsirs. You know what I'm saying? But these is things most people not gonna go out and start getting them. You gotta be up on an Arabic level. But the rest of it, the 40 recommendations for the Muslim home, where I was doing that book, but nobody was really, they get like 1 or 2 views, 3 views. So I really didn't go through it. You know what I'm saying? But it was people who wanted it. But anyway, it was a system of Tarbiyyah. Just like with me saying with these new shahadas, we starting from the ground up. We're starting from the beginning. And this is going to help you when you get to a certain point. This is something that I had to learn. Right? When I started getting to certain levels of education, because I went through steps of Tarbiyyah, the classes was easier. Just like when you go to daycare, it's starting to implement you to learn how to get along with kids. So that way, when you get the Head Start, you're more intertwined with dealing with other people and mixing with different groups of people, whites, blacks, whatever. That's not your family. You learn how to play. You learn how to behave yourself. You learn how to sit down and absorb education. All this is Tarbiyyah. Islam has Tarbiyyah as well. And it's not happening for us. And it's largely due to a lot of the people that we're listening to who never went through these steps. Okay? So, you got to learn Tarbiyyah and you got to learn the steps. So one thing that the brother said in the talk was, and I'm going to promote it For those who hate it and dislike it, y'all have at it. But IMFC, Abu Sajid, right now they starting a series called Islam from the Ground Up. Right? Now, these individuals, and I'm going to show y'all not only what I do, but what I did. Because me having a little bit of a foundation of Tarbiyyah, and I'm listening to this one, I'm listening to that one, I'm listening to this one, I'm listening to that one. Alhamdulillah, I was able to catch things like, hold on, something not right about that. So, of course, this notion of you got to be careful who you take from. True story. So, from me taking that, I said, I'm going to deal with people who at least have certifications and qualifications that's tangible, that I can see. So when it comes to hadith, I'm going to deal with people who in the university or graduated from the school of hadiths. When it comes to aqidah, theology, and belief systems, I'm going to deal with graduates or people that's in school and they're high honor students with that. When it comes to fiqh and when it comes to Sharia, I'm going to do the same thing. And I started to get crispier. And then like people who may have a PhD or they have a master's and different things in like Islamic studies, where they just got a little bit of everything, a little bit of fiqh, a little bit of tafsir. And then, because, or like some people have referred to it as a dawah degree, right? But high honor people. And then I started to get a little crispier. You understand? And then I started to separate what I'm learning. You see what I'm saying? And was able to categorize it and deal with it different. Some of us, we're not getting that. So one of the things that he said as he's speaking about Aqidah, and this is something that I always notice, because they're in Philly, and because of the fighting and the breaking down of other masjids, people left those masjids, and now they're starting to go to them. And when they ask questions, some of the people who left these well-known Salafi masjids and came to them, when they ask questions, they can't answer. And it's no knock to them, but it's a show. And that's why they decide, and they're dealing with their community and they're seeing what's in it. So that's why they doing Islam from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? And they dealing with Aqidah. Just like when he started asking, what's Aqidah? Just some of the things that a couple of people said, it was just like astonishing. You know what I mean? But the thing I want to just take away from what he said, that's for like anybody, if it's okay for y'all to go look at it, go to IMFC. That man is qualified to be a judge, right? Him and his partner, Ali Davis, they both graduated in Sharia, okay? They qualified to be judges. They're specialists in Islamic law. Regardless if other people want to try to take credit away from them, no, they're not. And then the only thing that they can say is what make them not qualified because they don't hate this one or they don't hate that one. Like I said, and these brothers brought scholars there to walk around the city, stay there for 3 weeks. You understand? So they're qualified in Sharia law and Tarbiyyah. And they both specialize in Hanbali fiqh. So sometimes when they come to fiqh issues, they're going to come from the Hanbali perspective, but they're going to let you know that. This is Hanbali fiqh. But on the Aqidah thing, very important, man. The stuff that he's talking about, very important. And I want to point out, because some people who really educating, sometimes it's not all that exciting. But when you go to school, like people who understand Tarbiyyah in the school system, class isn't always fun. Even if you went up to a college level, sometimes class might not be all that exciting, but the education for the people who want education, it be crispy. It be crispy. So one thing he said was, and because they're starting to see a need for this to be pointed out. That's why I thank Allah as a wajel. It wasn't a process that I went through, because the way I started off, I didn't fall into a lot of the snares that other people fell into. Because what you have to understand is, some of these cliques, they're publication companies. Okay? Salafi publications, Hikmah publications. Okay? Y'all got to understand the game. Salafi, this publications. So what the game was, because they had some Arabic, they would translate books and publish them. And then they would promote those books. Okay? Now, but the way they promote those books, you're gonna feel like, I absolutely had to have this. But sometimes, people who can get the book in Arabic, able to look at some of them books and say, hold on, this is not what this is. But not to get into that. So you have to understand, when people are calling to themselves, when a deen comes to Hizbiyyah, calling to yourself or to a group, right? We're gonna discuss that real quick, the trickery of wordplay. So like, you will hear these certain groups, oh, the Hizbi say this about us, the Hizbi say that. Who's the Hizbis? There's no other group that's clicked up saying, stay away from y'all. There's no group saying that. There's no group saying don't go to their masjid. They're no good because they're friends with this one. Y'all do that. But y'all the only ones. That's what a hizb is. You understand? So in reality, the ones who up on Hizbiyyah, there's no group of people saying the stuff that y'all say about everybody else. Now the Asheris is starting to do it, which they are, some of them, starting to form a Hizb because there's other Asheris that don't agree with what they're doing. Okay? So now they like, hey, this is our clique. We're the black leaders of this new revival for black Muslims. And then they're starting to exhibit the exact same characteristics of the people they fighting against. So you have to really know what Hizbiyyah is. So like, they throw these terminologies around, the Hizbis. Who is the Hizbis y'all talking about? Because the only ones that do that is y'all. So that's a play on the word Hizbiyyah, and then you're in the Hizbiyyah and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. And then you're tricked into thinking, saying something about these people that you don't know nothing about. And that's why I mentioned the brother in the video when he said, I don't know Shadeed Muhammad personally. I didn't even say what he said in the beginning, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it. He said, when I first met Shadeed Muhammad, I didn't know him. He was a whole lot skinnier than he is now. But the brothers who I was with kept referring to him as a sweet guy. Now you take it how you want it. What they was meaning by he was a sweet guy. So he basically didn't get in tune with him. So like he said, so I don't know him personally. But when I go back to the stuff I was hearing him say about him, you would have think he lived in the house with him. That's why I blew my line. I was like, oh, wait, you didn't know him personally? But you got duped into this. You see what I'm saying? And the same thing is happening to other people. This is the true definition of real Hizbiyyah. So just a play on the word plays, right? So, I also listened to, some other conferences today. And, I was just looking at it like, man, they still at it. They still at it. So we're gonna go on to the way they play on the word shake. Alright? So I remember this same group at a particular point in time, how they was talking about there's no sheikhs, there's no scholars in the West, right? Anybody who refers to themselves sheikh is a jahil, using little stuff like the person who represents himself as a lawyer has a fool for a client. The one who calls himself a sheikh has a fool as a student. They were saying all this stuff at one particular time because it was people that was coming home and they got to tear them down, and they got PhDs. When you get a PhD, don't let people tear you down. Or when you sit with other scholars and you're to the level of a PhD, when you go look at the term scholar, having a high honor degree, or you can go get it through scholars, technically you're a scholar. That don't mean you're a big scholar, but technically you're a scholar. You're a doctor in that field. Okay? So by definition, certain people do be scholars. So they had to tear them down and say, no, they not scholars. They're not this. Just because they went to the university in Medina or Mecca, that don't mean nothing. Look at Yasser Cardi. Yasser Cardi didn't graduate from over there. And he's not them. But this is wordplay. This is wordplay. It ain't not now none of y'all can exceed the majority of y'all, the people y'all talking about in education. So the play on the shake word. So I remember them saying that. So I'm listening to them. So I went to go try to pull up some of their old videos of them talking like that. Some of their old, conversations like that. So I wanted to listen to them. So a new video from 2 years comes up where a particular individual is in London and he's giving a talk. So the London people said, hey, I remember a time, because they bought into it. I remember a time when we were saying there's no sheikhs in the West. There's no, there's no sheikhs in the UK. There's no sheikhs in America. Now all of a sudden, we're being required to refer to some of the people that we listen to as sheikhs. Now, one of the people who are always considered to be a dynamic speaker, I wanted to listen. Go ahead and let me see how you're gonna weasel yourself out of this, because you spectacular when it comes to doing that. So what he said was, the scholars have explained this, and that's one of the things how they use things. The scholars, it's a wordplay. Well, the scholars have said this, but then if you go and look, the scholars haven't said that. Or it may be one person that said it, and then 80 scholars may disagree with it. So when they say scholars, it's a mind grab. That automatically give it ijma. Like no scholars differs on this statement, because to be honest with you, when they made this statement, there's no scholars in the West, there's no sheikhs in the West, whoever referred to there as a sheikh. The scholars actually came out and went against those statements. Not all scholars, but scholars started speaking out about it. I want to be careful because I'm saying scholars, but scholars did start speaking out about against those statements. So what he said was, because this also used to be one of their sayings, if you read a book by Imam Bukhari, then you're a student of Imam Bukhari. Okay? So we're students of knowledge because we're reading books by scholars. But that don't mean you understand that book. You know what I'm saying? Your knowledge isn't tested. You haven't took a test on that. Like graduates who had to sit in a room full of scholars while the scholars is probing their theories and they had to prove themselves. That's not happening. But this isn't to bash them. So he says, so if people look at us as teachers, who said that the term sheikh meant scholar? At one particular point in time, y'all did. And when people was referring to people like, what's up, sheikh? Y'all tore that down. Now you want to use it all these years later. Why? Because all y'all done put sheikh on y'all name. So I just want to break down to give people some clarity. Let's say I got a homie named Muhammad, and I see him. Assalamu alaikum, sheikh, what's good with you? What you gonna do today, sheikh? Right? But his name is Muhammad. If I use it that way, we understand that's a respect level. But if I call him Sheikh Muhammad, or I'm in a group, I'll be like, hey y'all, man, there go Sheikh Muhammad over there. That's not the same thing. You see what I'm saying? When you put it on your name as a title, but then when people call you out on it, because like they said, and then like it was some people who PhDs that don't have sheikh on their name. You understand? Because you gotta, this is the wordplay, because like I said, with certain pastors and certain things, they know who they're dealing with. Because the people that they talking to never catch them up. It's always other people with actual education that has to point it out. They never catch them. So when you put it on your name as a title, you're referring to yourself as a sheikh, as in a scholar, as in a person of knowledge. Not like, what's good with you, sheikh, what you want? That's the difference. But see, it's a wordplay. So he was saying, oh, there's people may refer to them as sheikh and this and that, but they're not even worthy of that title of sheikh. Like basically, yeah, we're worthy of it. And then with the name, some people with PhDs that's not on no deviance, but they don't know these people have a PhD. They just don't call themselves Salafi. So you just called a real sheikh that don't call himself a sheikh not worthy of the title, because now y'all got to tear down the people that's qualified to uplook how you want to be looked at for the purposes of what you're doing. When Tarbiyyah comes into effect, where's the implementation of the Tarbiyyah? Where's the systematic education from A to B to C to D to E to F to G that y'all have implemented over the past 10, 15 years? It's not there. So y'all be careful with that sheikh thing. When a person is putting sheikh on the front of their name, just like if I introduce myself as Sheikh Yasin, and then everybody calling me, hey, there go Sheikh Yasin, I'm putting a narrative on my name as a title so that y'all can view me as a person of high knowledge. But if I entered a college level, first year college level, I probably would flunk out. Like, let me just go to, because they have what they call a defense. Let me go to the bachelor's degree program, straight to a defense, and sit in front of scholars and then try to pass that exam. I wouldn't be able to do it. But people not calling me sheikh out of respect or on some cool, what's up, sheikh, man, what you been on? Or because of a certain age as a level of respect. Now they calling me sheikh like the same way they call Sheikh Rabi, Sheikh Fawzan. But they try to manipulate it into wordplay when they get called on it. to make like it's permissible. No, you're putting it on your name as a title. You have a flyer. Sheikh such and such will be doing at this one. And then like 10 other people. And ain't even touched the university. Or play with the people. Oh, I sat with this person for 20 years and this and that. But everybody who was there who really sat with him and got ijazahs and graduated from their program be like, yeah, they was in the country. But they wasn't at no classes. They just sat around with the other people in their little group talking about they ain't go to class because such and such is there. And that made it a class of bid'ah. Plus, you could listen to how they conversate. Just like, I'm not trying to be funny. And I'm not trying to elevate myself to a certain level. But it's been people who've been around me. And they bought the same books that I bought. And they sat around while I taught classes. Right? And because people seen us together all the time, they used to think we was exactly the same. And these individuals played on that. But then when I wasn't around no more, people started looking at them like, they'd catch up with me and be like, man, I thought y'all was the same. And all I would say was, why would you think that? But I knew that person's reality. And like, because I was really taking classes, because I would invite people to classes. I even invited that person to class. They wouldn't take not one. You know what I'm saying? Not one. Eventually, they tried to take the Akida course thing, but they didn't. Once they got to lesson 3, they quit. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the reality of it. But they still try to teach people from it, knowing they didn't take it. But alhamdulillah. So sometimes you have people, because they're around people, they could present themselves a certain type of way. So y'all have to be careful of that. And don't let the wordplay fool you. Because the people with the real qualifications, they don't do that. But y'all used to make fun of that. Y'all used to tear that down. Now y'all got to justify doing it when getting asked about. And then you go right back into the wordplay. Now that, what's up, Sheikh? And, hey, Sheikh Muhammad. Those are two different things. And then every time you see me now, every video I got, Sheikh Yasin. Every masjid I go to, Sheikh Yasin. Then from the people who new to Islam, who don't know about what really went on with me and what the scholars really said about me and our whole entire group 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and because we constantly getting warned against, and they don't know this, but they, soon as they hear of me, Sheikh Yasin, they think I'm a sheikh. It's the wordplay. People got to be mindful of that, man. People got to be mindful of that. And like they say about the ones who call to themselves, if y'all make a list and say these are the only people you could take from, if that's not calling to yourselves, to your group, I don't know what is. And then, because y'all know, and I'm going to refer to them as y'all practitioners, a person like me could sit down and say, where's 10 scholars that authorized this list? Where's 10 scholars that said y'all the only people that can be taken from in America? Where did y'all sit down with them enough to get your knowledge tested for them to say y'all the only one? And like I say, I know the play on words where one of them said they had a Salafi event, and they said, yeah, y'all did good organizing this Salafi event. And then they went and told the people the Sheikh gave us tazkiyah. When the same Sheikh really said, hey man, y'all, the only thing y'all qualified to do is be translators. Y'all not da'is, y'all not students of knowledge, y'all translators. But right now, they got Sheikh on their name. But not to get into that, because I don't want people to get into the comments. Just like how the video, I went ahead and deleted because I don't want, we 5 days away from Rajab. And I don't want to be going through the back and forth Because like I said, they had some issues with what was going on with the clear Quran. But then when I made the video showing same thing in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, same thing in Tafsir Sati. But because y'all don't read this, y'all sitting around warning against trying to tear down books. Because y'all don't have that Tarbiyyah. You see what I'm saying? And y'all got that lingo. Well, the scholars this. And now people picking that same lingo up. But because they don't have Tarbiyyah, they don't use it effectively. And I'm going to end on this. The last thing, the same person at that same conference, they said to him, the same person, because basically they calling them out on a lot of stuff that they said. So they said, so if I live in a city and they don't have any Salafi masjids, and I want to clear up this notion, is it okay for me to pray in a masjid of bid'ah? Because I want to show y'all the wordplay. And then I want to show y'all the answer because he read from Hassan al-Basri. And anybody who know who Hassan al-Basri is, he one of them guys from back in the day, 1,000 years ago. One of them guys, right? So one notion, because their practitioners have been, their mind is stated, any masjid that doesn't call itself Salafi is a masjid of bid'ah. They wordplay might not say that, but if your mindset is this, I can't pray in a masjid of bid'ah, I can't go in a masjid of bid'ah. So if I go to a city and they don't have a Salafi masjid, I can't go to it because all these masjids is masjid of bid'ah. So to show what they teach people, and then the answer that he gave, because he's in London, see. So they said, what are we to do? Once again, this answer has been explained numerous times by the scholars. Yeah, but it ain't what y'all teaching. So now that he's saying that, and then he goes to read from what Hassan al-Basri said, he got to clean up his statements. Because he's not in front of a group of people that don't know no better. So his statement was, if there's a Sunni masjid or Salafi masjid, you could go pray in it. If they're on some bid'ah that doesn't take them out of the fold of Islam, you can go to that masjid, you could pray to behind them. But if they're on some innovation that take them out of the fold of Islam, then you can't go pray behind them, because being that now you're praying behind somebody that's out of the fold of Islam. Now the beauty of it is, when they were spreading this narrative, Salafi masjid only, that's a masjid of bid'ah, the individuals who was clarifying that statement, which they got that jewel from losing arguments. You know what they said? They called them the Hizbiyahs. But now you in UK 2 years ago saying the exact same thing that you was told, that you had been being told since about 2013. So being that was 2 years ago, 2022, it's safe to say something you have been told over 10 years. But you want all these people to believe that you said and got all your education from Sheikh Mukbil. Sheikh Mukbil didn't teach that, what y'all was saying. So to hear him say that, and I'm sitting down saying, are you only saying that because you in the UK? You know what I'm saying? Because right now, even when you hear, these people still think if the masjid don't call itself Salafi, you can't go in it, you can't pray in it, you can't do nothing. Why? Because they feel like they masjids a bid'ah. Even if they were Salafi masjids that was part of the clique, and then y'all fought with each other. But y'all been homies for 10 years. Now y'all done fought. Now y'all declare each other masjids as masjid bid'ah, when y'all still up on the exact same teachings y'all been up on. How did it all of a sudden become a masjid bid'ah 1 hour after y'all argument? That means it would have had to always been one. So to hear him say that, it was just like, and it's that deception, man. I always question why they did that. Like the fake refutations and the stuff y'all made up, the lying saying the scholars say, and then when other people called them out on it, we talked to the scholars. The scholars said they never said that. Even got some of the scholars on the phone and let people hear the scholars say, no, I never said that about that person. Then they want to come out, oh, such and such, he's an innovator, he's a deviant, he's running around lying, talking about we was lying on the scholars. Then the same people, when y'all split up, come back and say, yeah, man, we was lying. I'm making public tawbah because I lied in public. I'm making tawbah and telling the truth in public. But all these people done bought into it. But they fallen into it because they haven't had proper tarbiyyah. You know what I'm saying? You know these people could go to these other masjids. But what's going to be the problem? If they go to these other masjids, they're going to stop coming to yours. And I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, this is how y'all eat. Y'all get paid to do conferences. Y'all get paid to come to other masjids and do talks. See, it's a different story when a person have their own masjid and they doing them there. You see what I'm saying? So people need to understand that, man. And this is from one of they heavy hitters. If it's a Sunni masjid, you can go to it. Now, if they own some bid'ah, but the bid'ah doesn't take them out of the fold of Islam, you can pray with them. Jumu'ah service is a prayer. But y'all teaching, you can't go over there at all. This totally goes against the explanation from the scholars, and you went even all the way back to Hassan al-Basri. But that's not what you teach in America. That's problematic, man. And then because you have Sheikh on your name as a title, people just automatically taking it from you. So you got to even take that even further. If a person is a Sunni and they sound, why people can't take knowledge from them? Especially if they 10 times more qualified than you. If they can go to their masjid and pray with them and listen to Jumu'ah. You see what I'm saying? Why y'all don't teach the people that? If making a list of people that you could, these are the only people y'all can list to. If that's not calling to yourself, then what is? The people who y'all trying to refer to as the Hizbis, where they list at? Where the masjids, the Sunni masjids and Salafi masjids, where the list of masjids that they telling people that they can't go to? Or you can't salam him because we seen him speaking to somebody we declared a deviant in the store. You can't salam them sisters because they don't have all black on. Where they speech at like that? If they the Hizbis, where they even teaching that at? If they are the Hizbis, if they are deviants and not worthy of being spoken of, show they deviants. It's just going to be they don't do what we say do. That make them a deviant. But then you somewhere else 2 years later, where I seen personally where you lost an argument and a person gave you those rules. because they kept asking you what's the bid'ah that's being committed, and you couldn't answer it. If this is a masjid of bid'ah, what's the bid'ah that they committing? And does that bid'ah take them out of the fold of Islam? If you can mention something, they were saying stuff like, well, they got a sadaqah box in the masjid. What? It's a masjid of bid'ah because they got a sadaqah box in it. What? See, bid'ah is a bid'ah in worship. Okay? Who worshiping the sadaqah box? That's why when there's linguistic term in their Sharia. If somebody's sitting down changing away salat in an act of worship, now that's a bid'ah. If you changing the way the Jum'ah service and different things is done in a way that's not legislated, that's bid'ah. But having carpet when masjids used to didn't have, having different styles of minbar that wasn't the same as the other ones, or having a box where people can make their donations privately, that's not a religious bid'ah. So like I said, for people who have an understanding, man. But these was their answers. Well, they got a sadaqah box in there. But when they needed a donation for something, they sit down and say, hey, we got this going on. We need 18,000. Anybody want to donate? You still collecting donations. Tomato. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to clarify that, man. One, that shake turn, the way they word playing, having shake on your name as a title, and a person like, what you gonna do today, Shake, man? What's up with you, man? What you got going on? As a sign of respect. And then like some people who don't know the two, you be like, man, Shake, I ain't seen you in a minute. Man, I hate that, man. I don't even want to love you. Come on, man. You know good and well ain't nobody referring to you as no scholar. You barely even know anything. Man, I hate when people, man, say that, man, like they referring to me as a scholar. Boy, you don't know nothing. And I'm just saying, over the years, I probably done came across like 20 people. Man, I hate that, man. I can't stand that, man. But somebody from the streets, like they used to say back in the day, use the word dog. Man, what up, dog? Man, I ain't see you in a minute. They don't hate that. What's up, fool? Man, me and Fool used to kick it, man, but I ain't seen Fool in a minute. But they don't hate that. You know what I'm saying? Because of the lack of Tarbiyyah and learning step by step by step. And one thing, and I'm going to end it on this. One thing the brother said, if for 10 years and you just going around and you getting this book, because this the most popular book, and you getting this and this and this, and you just reading and reading, your knowledge can end up just being scattered. See, daycare sets you up for Head Start. Head Start sets you up for kindergarten. Kindergarten sets you up for first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, all the way up through college. Now, the beauty of Tarbiyyah is you might be able to catch somebody in kindergarten and say, okay, they're not catching on like everybody else. They need special attention. Then they get special attention, and then they get to the first grade. Then they may still have some issues, and they may need some special attention in first grade, second grade, third grade. But in Islam, you might not know this is a person that may need special attention. You might be talking to somebody, or somebody that needs special attention may read a book and not understand it properly and go miseducate people. That's why Even in school, there's a difference between a straight A student and a straight C student. So in Islam, you could see somebody who was a C and D student as compared to a person who was an A and B student. I want to deal with them A and B students. And that's why, like, even not to embarrass the brother, which I hope I didn't, or to make him feel shy, but when he did his answers, let me read your answers, brother. You did excellent. I just want to share because some people can't answer like this. But because some of them, they not really familiar with the subject matter, and they just been listening to people, and then they're trying to cheat their way through it instead of actually reading it and absorbing it in order to answer it. But because they have these lessons, then they turn around and think they could teach it to people when they don't even understand it. But if you're not educated, you might not be able to catch that. It's going to take somebody who took them lessons and passed it, even if they passed it on a C level, to sit down and say, hold on. Because like I said, I'm not trying to be funny, but I know of 3 people who had, not the whole entire lessons, this just me personally, 3 people who had maybe the first 3 to 4 lessons. And all 3 of them have called themselves trying or attempting to teach that stuff to somebody. And when they be talking to me about it, and then I just sit down and say something like, what's the requirement for D's to be accepted? They get offended like I done pulled a tool on them. Like I done up pipe on them or something. See, there you go. What you mean? Man, when it comes to Akida and this and that, which being like the very first lesson, but they swear up and down they on like lesson 4, lesson 3. It's almost like I spoke Chinese to them. You ain't got no business teaching that to nobody. But they ain't got nobody sitting down really answering the questions, absorbing it. They just running their mouth to somebody like, oh man, you know what, that sound kind of deep. But somebody who done took the lessons could sit down and say, man, that man just misinformed you. We got to be careful of that. And that's why I want to say that's the importance of Tarbiyyah, because if somebody not really getting it, not saying they have special needs, but because it's times when I read stuff, I might have to read it 3-4 times. Then I have to be like, hold on, man, let me call somebody who this and that, a specialist in this field, or email them. You know what I'm saying? Can you break this down for me? And then I go look at some other scholars and different things who look at it and see what they said and be like, oh, alhamdulillah. You see what I'm saying? But everybody not going to do that. And if you never been through the process, you won't recognize it. It's almost like the blind leading the blind. If Islam is teaching you to be a Muslim that hate Muslims because they don't hang with you, but if that same Muslim, it has the exact same characteristics and the exact same person that they is, say, you know what, I am going to start hanging with y'all. But the exact same person with exact same understanding, now all of a sudden they're a top-notch individual, or vice versa. They hang with y'all, exact same understanding, exact same person. On Tuesday say, you know what, I don't like what you said. I know that you lying. I know what you up to. I'm finna stop hanging with you. Now all of a sudden you a deviant and everything else, but it has absolutely nothing with your Islamic understanding. It has nothing to do with any type of ibadah that you're doing. You don't hang with us no more, so we don't like you. Going over there with the Hizbiyahs. But that's Hizbiyyah, what you doing. It always, I'm going to be honest with y'all, it always remind me of relationships when the relationship ends when the other person wasn't ready for it. The male or the female thinking everything is all good on Monday, And then the other person come up and say, you know what, this ain't working for me, but you in love like a mug. And then the person comes and say, you know what, this ain't working for me. I feel like it's holding me back. I'm not getting nowhere. I need to move forward. I can do bad by myself, or whatever their reasons is. And then the other person like, wait, hold on, but what? Tell me what I'm doing wrong. We can fix it, or whatever, right? But then the person say, no, my mind made up. Then they might try to get them back Tuesday. They try to get them back Wednesday. They try to get them back Thursday. And then by Friday, if they can't get them back, that was the worst, most stinkingest, horriblest, manipulative, garbage person I ever met. But you wanted them back. You didn't want it to end. It's the same thing. Are you going to go hang with them? You the most horriblest, most despicablest critter. Your Islam is no good, shouldn't be listened to. But he got the exact same understanding that he had when y'all said he should be listened to. Just like, and the proof of that is, just like right now, how I see they got Talib Abdullah back. My man, I love him. But they done took Talib Abdullah's name off that list so much. 1 year his name on it, next year it's off. Next year, 3 years later, his name back on it, then it's back off of it for 5 years. But now, because he's an actual graduate, now they bringing him all to Chicago. They got Talib Abdullah back out there, trying to get that mustard back on that bread. What? Y'all just kicked him off for 3 years. Put him back on for 6 months, then kicked him back off for 5 years. He's a deviant. We don't take from him. He's not allowed to be listened to. And now y'all got him right back, carrying him around with you. Like, come on, man. But my alarm going off, man. Time for me to go ahead and get these rakats in, man. So, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, man. That's just a long conversation about Tarbiyyah. Be careful how people playing with the word shake, because it's about the narrative that they trying to put out there, and they know the narrative that they're putting out there, and there needs to be a reason why, especially when y'all was so against it and talked about it. But then the same people who y'all referring to as Hizbis, they're not doing it, and they had actual qualifications. Then you go somewhere else and say, yeah, if it's a Sunni masjid, Salafi masjid, you can go to. Sunni masjid, you could go to. If it's a Sunni masjid and they have some bid'ah going on, you could go to it. You could pray behind them. You could go to Jumu'ah. But if it's bid'ah to take them out of the fold of Islam, then praying behind them invalidates the prayer for the people praying behind them. But you could still go pray in that masjid, just don't pray behind him. You understand what I'm saying? Just don't pray behind him. Now you saying those type of things, but when you're in your masjid, you teaching something entirely different. Because that's the real hawk. And the simple fact that you could answer the question like that, like I said, I remember when you couldn't. And now that you can answer it like that, that means you have knowledge of it. But that's still not what you're teaching. And sister just moved to Atlanta. And she said, I just got to Atlanta. Is there any good Salafi masjids here? I need a Salafi masjid. Why? Because she's still under that notion, that teaching from y'all. If it ain't Salafi, it's a masjid of bid'ah. If they don't call themselves Salafi, you can't listen to them. I don't care how much education they have. I don't care what they is. Even if you don't hear them say nothing wrong. Because look at Yasir Qardi. Yasir Qardi ain't them, and he ain't graduate from no Islamic university. So quit playing with the people. But when she asked the question, so certain people started saying, well, it's a Salafi masjid in Stone Mountain, Georgia. It's a Salafi masjid over here. I lived there for years. It was a beautiful masjid. And here come them. No, the Salafi masjid in Stone Mountain, Georgia ain't Salafi no more because they started following Umar Ahmad's sign. Now they follow Quran and Sunnah. When did they start following another man? See, y'all the one who follow up behind people. Just because they didn't choose to disagree with him because y'all didn't have him on y'all list. Now, they still call themselves a Salafi Masjid. The Salafis still call it the Salafi Masjid, but like I say, it's two types. Now y'all saying it ain't. Who started following them? Some of the people who go to that masjid probably don't even know who that is. But we're going to take the whole masjid off of it. But some of y'all top people, when they overseas, if it's a Sunni masjid, go to it. And like when I say to certain people, if it's a Salafi masjid, and I know this one is also a Salafi masjid, but y'all don't claim it because the person who teach there ain't on y'all list. But I could get Tarbiyyah, I could get Ijazah, I could get linked with other students that's in the university and pay for classes. I can get linked with other scholars and learn certain books. But with y'all, I can't get nothing. That masjid is more beneficial for me. Why am I going to give up that benefit for a masjid where I'm not getting no benefit from? You got to use your brain. But because people mind is in tune with the non-facts, that if the masjid doesn't call itself Salafi or call itself Salafi, but y'all don't approve of it, but they got PhDs, graduates, masters, all type of links to scholars that y'all don't have, and everything else, and y'all don't have none of that. Y'all don't have none of it. But y'all could take that masjid off of it. And ain't not one scholar took it off. Unless some scholar who don't know English and y'all made up a bunch of lies, and that scholar said, I wouldn't go to that masjid. If what y'all saying is true. If there's another masjid to go to, I wouldn't go to that masjid if what y'all saying is true. But we know it's a play on words, stacking a deck. You overseas, if it's a Sunni masjid, even if there's somebody in there on bid'ah, hold on. Y'all done took whole students that was greater than y'all off of it because they just went and gave a khutbah at a masjid that y'all said a person of bid'ah was in there. Y'all declared the whole masjid a bid'ah because this one person went and gave a talk there and called them to Salafiyah. Then when people say, Mukbil, Rabbinum used to go to Sufi masjids and call them to the, y'all liking them to the likes of Rashek Rabbi. How dare you speak that way of this deviant? Just because you saying this other scholar did it and they did it, what does that mean? How's that saying they just as great as Sheikh Rabi? Because they always got to tear down everybody that's not a part of their clique. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.